Hello everyone, my name is Dr. Pat Rydell and I'm so happy you decided to join us for the Advanced LSP Training Series. And this series is a follow-up to the LSP Introductory Training, which is based on the learning style profile for children with Autism Spectrum Disorder, which I call the LSP. And the LSP itself represents what I feel are the 10 greatest challenges that we face as we get our kids ready to make and keep friends, to have conversations, get ready for school. The LSP develops a profile for each individual child as we move them from learning style weaknesses to learning style strengths. Now this advanced training takes it a step further. So I'm going to almost pretend that you and I are sitting at my center, Rocky Mountain Autism Center, on the floor or at a table, and we're going to discuss each of the 10 LSP components, which then are broken down into 10 considerations or 10 competencies as you plan and prepare your therapy sessions as we move our kids from learning style weaknesses to learning style strengths. I'm going to mentor you through the process as if you were my own therapist in a very practical way, and acknowledging full well that there's lots of autism intervention literature out there. There are many naturalistic developmental behavioral interventions that are well established in the autism literature. It's easy to get overwhelmed by all this literature. So we're going to break that down into 10 of the greatest challenges and further break that down into your competencies and considerations to help you get out of the blocks. Pat, what do I do? How do I get this therapy started? How do I know what I'm doing is going to make sense? Well, that's what you and I are going to talk about in the Advanced Training Series. Now, with these training videos, you will have a companion document, the LSP Advanced Training Document. I have that on my screen here on my computer. And the format of this training is that I'm going to move through this document with you. We're going to do the LSP competencies for each of the components. So what I have on my screen, you have on your document. We'll move through the competencies together, and I will model and demonstrate each of the competencies. All right? Now, before we get started, I would like to encourage all of you to have either seen the LSP Intro workshop, either online or in person, and also having read through the LSP document, the LSP protocol, and the LSP assessment. So today's training is going to support the intro LSP documents and the online package that hopefully that you've already seen. Okay, so it'll make sense to you. All right, let's go to the third competency. The adult goes first. All right, what do I mean by that? Again, sometimes what we do is when a child walks in, soft landing, here, sit down, here, play with this toy, and we give kids the toys. And immediately what happens is if you give the child a toy, what happens to their head? Their head goes down. This is what I'm focused on. And all the valuable social cues eventually in the classroom or therapy or social group or whatever, all these social cues, all this communication and social and all these behavioral cues that help kids understand what to do, how to do it, when to do it, the child's missing all of it. Why? Because you've given the child the toy, their head is down. I don't need you anymore, Pat. You can go away. Go have a cup of coffee. That's fine. All right, I've got what I need here. When I'm done with that, I'm going to throw it away and get the next toy. But my world becomes very small. It's right here. All right? And so we want to avoid giving toys, and we want to go first. The adult goes first because we want the child not to get into a wrestling match with you, okay? So that when they come in, they're grabbing the toys and we're trying to pull the toys back, and now we're immediately into, emotional dysregulation starts going up and it's a grab fest, and the child's like, hey, you know what? You, Pat, are representing competition to what I want, and I'm going to try to out-quick and out-grab you for the toy. Make it very clear that what we are going to do, I'm going to present, and I'm going to go first. This helps a lot down the road when we talk about shared control, which is the LSP number 5. Children, when they walk into the room, stop, wait, child, look up, look around. What am I doing? What are we doing? How can you become part of what we are doing? I'm going to go first, not because I'm trying to control you, but because I'm a source of information for you, socially, behaviorally, communicatively, etc. But if I give you the toy and I let you go first, that's probably not going to work. Okay, so as we go to number 5, model and demonstrate. Let's look at this, these criteria. Model and demonstrate new actions on objects. Okay, so the child might be used to playing with this game in a repetitive way, kind of a repetitive over and over, again, stereotypy. Okay, what you are is you're a mentor, and as in this criteria, you're modeling and demonstrating new actions, not the same old, okay? Why do kids develop repetitive actions? Because they're used to receiving objects and playing with it the way they did yesterday. Playing with the way they did the day before, and the day before, and the day before. It's very, very repetitive. It's very ritualistic, which is a diagnostic criterion for children with autism, but we're buying into that if we just keep giving kids toys to play with. All right, what we want to do is we want to present a new action, a new way of playing and interacting with toys or with objects. Okay, so that's really, really important. New way of interacting, okay, and it's a new source of information. The second criteria is model and demonstrate conventional actions. The adults provide information how others might play with this toy. That's the important criterion here. Okay? So if this is what we are playing with, then I'm going to model and demonstrate for the child a new way of interacting with this toy. Instead of the repetitive on-off, I'm going to maybe just set up these ducks on this toy, kind of like they're swimming. This is a new way of interacting with this toy. So when we talk about demonstrating actions that other people might do, why is that important? Because if a peer comes in, they're going to be like, oh, hey, it's the duck game. Oh, okay. So again, this is what we're doing. This is something that the child with autism, if they're playing with peers and learning in relation to peers, this is a more conventional way of playing with this particular game, because now what we are doing is shared information with a peer. You and I can share information better when we're doing something more conventional. The competency number 3 is called stop, wait. The use of multiple partners, whether they're adults or peers, is a good idea to start with when we're looking at this particular shared control learning style challenge. All right, the reason why I say that is that when a child is sitting here and I'm the coach, the child is less likely to get into shared control competition if it's just if you have a number of people. If it's just us two, the child's going to be like, hey, it's either you or me. It's a winner or a loser. I get to be in control or you get to be in control. When you're in control, that means I'm losing. When I'm in control, that means I'm winning. By adding a third partner, the child will begin to understand that this is what we are doing in a small group. It's not mano a mano. It's this is what we're doing because this partner is also stopping and waiting and looking at Pat to see what the agenda is. So the child then is establishing a little bit more of a tolerance by understanding that he or she is part of a small group and it's not just a competition winning and losing situation. So that's why I would add a third partner when you're working on these kinds of shared control issues. All right? So let's go on to understand that when we talk about language, we develop the knowledge of agent, action, object, attributes first, okay? In LSP number 6, we did a lot of this verbal enhancement or communication enhancement without a lot of words, okay? Now it's time to expose kids to lots of different concepts, lots of different choices of how to play this joint action routine, and then we'll put words on top. Okay, so words are symbolic and represent what we know. When we say a word, this should represent how we think in our knowledge base. If we're training kids to talk, and I use the word training because that's kind of what it is sometimes, if you're teaching kids just to imitate what's this, what's that, our children don't really have a knowledge of what it is that they're talking about. They might see a picture pointing in a book, or you might, what's this? Say train. Okay, I'll say train because I'm good at maybe verbal imitation, but I'm not really sure what about train this. How does this relate to any of this? Okay, so that's what we're working on, is how to embed language into this joint action routine, the shared knowledge. Okay. So once we get past the idea of verbal enhancement and incorporating many, many different words across these semantic categories, now we're starting to get into number 4 competency, syntax. Okay? That's putting words together. That's putting words together. One of the reasons why we have the balance of words that are agent, action, object, location, attributes, because when we start putting these words together in creative ways, we start mixing and matching words to represent how we think. We're getting a little bit more sophisticated. And if we only know nouns or words of objects, we're not going to be able to actually create short sentences that are what I would consider to be grammatically appropriate. We're just stringing nouns together because that's what the child knows. So what we do in this situation is we use what we call a pivot grammar strategy. Okay, now we also talked about in the previous video, LSP number 8, we talked about the 5 questions of structure. Remember when we were doing this activity? I'm just bringing this back because this is what we did in LSP number 8. We did the circles here. And we're playing the circles, and we go from 5 to 4, 3, 2, 1, okay? And again, this object is put at the end of this sequence. And it's the same concept as the child anticipating when I get done with these. How do I know when I'm done? When these are all gone and shot with this shooter thing, then I get to do this activity. It might be in a different part of the room, might be down the hallway, whatever, but again, this has been paired up with this game, and you've already practiced and rehearsed what this means. Okay? The child is familiar with that. The idea of the 5 questions of structure is not only to visually organize, but also help with transitions. It's all about the child shifting their attention, anticipating what's coming next, and processing this information so it doesn't come too much too quickly. That is, for me, with transitions, that's probably 90% of successful transitions, when you do it methodically, visually organized, and go slowly. So you can incorporate the 5 questions of structure into this process as well.